Budget is definitely one of them, but let's start from the beginning. It will definitely be the objective of the business or of the brand, right? If it's new brand and it's launching, right? The objective will really define, and your budget as well, will really define what you shall do, right? And anybody would lie to you if they said, okay, I'll tell you the best approach for influencer marketing. This industry specifically, it's very different than any other industry. It's different than the media industry. And by media, I mean online and offline, and online display ads, right? You might have like some theories here and there that they are just static, like you cannot change them. And the most successful approach is known, right? Or for e-commerce, for example, right? But when it comes to influencer marketing, no one knows the secret sauce, right? And anybody would lie if they say so, right? But the best thing or the best approach that I would tell you is the try and test.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Unboxed, the podcast where we unravel the heart and soul of branding, marketing, technology, and everything else. I'm your host, AJ, and today I have with me Tariq Shalabi. Tariq is the head of brand partnerships at Dmenta. They craft influential content for brands, one of the leading agencies. He's passionate about influencer marketing and mentoring startups. Over the past decades, he's involved in driving brand alliances and remarkable growth across the brands he's worked with. I want to welcome Tariq. And Tariq, I just want to mention that you're the first guest in our show that who specializes in influencer marketing, and we have a lot to talk about today.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me. It's quite interesting, actually, topic and industry, and I'm sure that we could talk a lot of things, right? Thank you for having me in the show. I believe your show. I've been one of your actually followers and fans
Great.
on YouTube.
Great.
I love the other episodes that you produced previously.
Great.
That's why I connected with the team. I was like, I'm here. Let's do it.
Great. I think it's going to be a very exciting episode as well.
Thank you.
When we look at, I just want to dive straight into the topic. Pre-2010, influencers were mostly celebrities. The actors and whoever we see in the movies. But with with the advent of social media and everyone using their mobile devices and consuming content on there, influencer has taken a whole different definition.
Yeah.
It's become a major industry, and they're estimating around $17 to $20 billion. Currently it's a $20 billion and even more. So I just want to. You've been in the space, working with influencers and so on. And for us as a brand agency, what we normally we help create brands. Like, for example, develop a story for them, define what their brand is, position them, and so on. Once we complete that process, the next thing that they ask us is like, how do we connect with an influencer? How do we promote or market or communicate our brand using an influencer? And one thing we normally tell them is like, it's not just any influencer that you need to go to. You have a personality as a brand. You need an influencer who's aligned with the same personalities, same core values to represent your brand. Otherwise, there's a mismatch, and it will not do well with the audience. I just want to understand from your side, is this the right kind of approach? Do brands need to associate or partner with influencers that have the same kind of personality and core values and image? Because if you're talking about a luxury brand, you need an influencer who represents luxury and talks about luxury. So I think from your perspective, working in the industry, working with influencers, what is your take on that?
In the beginning, the industry, as you said, the industry is growing massively, right? And that was meant to be for the industry. Social media platforms were there to start out or to show or to satisfy the need of connecting with humans, right? Like humans together. Yet still in the beginning of course, in the rise of social media platforms in the early ages, right? Which is like 10 years or more. A lot of brands started to have like display ads on social media platforms. And from here, that wasn't the main purpose where social media platforms created, right? From that stage the scene started to have like a lot of content creators. A lot of people are talking about specific brands, about their experiences as well. And from here came up the endorsement concept, right? And brands started to collaborate with influencers on specific scale, right? As everybody knows, started with fashion and beauty. Look what products I got, etc. And then more platforms got emerged and more platforms entered the scene, right? We now hear about a lot of social media platforms, not just the main 4 or 5 ones that we all know, right? The corona happened, right? And that particular event or incident, the industry was already growing, and when corona hit, the industry was growing, like started to grow even faster and in a more faster scale, right? And that helps as well a lot of creators to emerge. A lot of people were at home doing nothing, and then they started to create content because they're just bored at the comfort of their couch at home.
I think there's a very good point. Just sorry to cut you off, because the guest we had in the previous episode, he was saying he launched his podcast during the COVID time, and they were out of equipment. We couldn't find equipment because everybody was doing something at home. They were buying equipment. They were doing,
A lot of industries actually profited a lot from the incidents of Corona. A lot of other, businesses as well have had a lot of tremendous, losses in their businesses. Why would we go far away? Like we can give a great example of Happy. I'm sure you've heard about him. Right? Happy was a regular worker, right? In Europe, in a hotel. And then Corona hit. He lost his job. And then he started to create videos. Like without the Corona, we wouldn't have heard of Happy, right? Happy now has one of the biggest TikTok accounts ever, more than 160 million followers, right?
Wow.
So this is how the industry is growing. This is the potential for all the ecosystem player in this industry. And I believe this ecosystem doesn't just conclude only creators and brands. It also concludes agencies and all the other stakeholders in the whole ecosystem, right? So everyone in the industry has a role, and they evolve together to create the best and the most beneficial results, whether for creators or for brands or agencies who are making profit or making business out of this. So back to your questions, talking about influencers and creator association with brands. This is a very important point, and this is some of the brands are lacking at the moment. And if we want to talk not just about like luxury brands, even the normal brands, right? They have to have this strong association with the influencers who represent them, because at the end of the day, we all talk about like organic content, we all talk about authenticity and maintaining authenticity in the influencer content. And if all these things are not in place, then there is no need of doing the influencer collaborations. That's why you have always to rely on a good partner who understands the influencer industry very well, can recommend the best mix of talents who can represent the brand, and they can talk as well the same language of the brand, but native to the platform. This is a very important thing to know as well. Brands, especially the luxury ones, right? In some cases, they shouldn't take themselves very seriously on social platforms. And if they want to do so, then they have to stick to specific platforms and which talks the same DNA and language as these brands. But if they want to go to other platforms, right? They need to maintain still their character, but they need to have a little bit of fun, right? Within, of course, the limitations and the guidelines of the brand, but they need to have a little bit of fun as well. So people start to engage with them, right? Me as a brand, I want to start my account on TikTok. I need to talk the TikTok language. Me and you. I'll ask you this question, by the way. This question is for you. Are you the same person?
I'm getting interviewed now.
Are you the same person on Facebook as the same person on Instagram, on Twitter?
No,
right? You took different language, right? You show different faces of
depending
your lives,
on the platform,
right? On Facebook, you have the family, like the old family friends and school friends, right? So you speak the post that you post, the post that you shares as well, and everything that you're saying is different than your Instagram account, right? You tend to show like the luxury faces of your life, right? The luxury sides, where you go and you take really nice pictures and you post it, right? When you go to TikTok, it's different. When you go to Twitter, you're more bold and candid and can speak in more strong language and bold language, right? So this DNA that each platform has, brands should act the same way. So brands are considered humans on these platforms, and audience and their customers need to see them this way, right? Do you know you? Do you know very well that you are Hermes, you're LV, you're Gucci, right? But when you go to TikTok, right, and you want to engage with people, you need to be native to the platform as well, as much as connecting or partnering with creators who represent your brand and the brand image as well.
True. One thing that really caught my attention when we had this discussion previously was something you mentioned about B2B brands. Now, when we think about influencer marketing, the first thing is like, is it a luxury brand, or is it a food brand, or is it a, B2C brand? But you mentioned last time, and that was like quite insightful for me as well, that B2B brands are getting on the bandwagon. And can you explain a little bit more on that, and how brands in the B2B space can leverage on influencer marketing?
Great question.
Yeah.
I always love when someone talks about like B2B. I believe it was there previously, like it was there a year or 2 years ago, like the B2B influencer marketing trend, right? But a lot of brands, I haven't seen a lot of brands in the Middle East starting to get use out of this and make benefits out of this, right?
Yes.
We at Dmenta, we started to create this as well for the brands who we work with, who have 2 line of businesses. Like we work with a global cybersecurity brand, which we are a global partner for them as well in the influencer marketing field. We used to always promote, like collaborate with influencers to promote the B2C solutions for them, right, as cybersecurity brand. But they never have discovered before that we can also do B2B campaigns for them. And we actually developed this solution for them to work with thought leaderships in specific industries, right? Influencers, content creators on LinkedIn who have voices and people follow them. So if you think about it, really, most of the brands or businesses who provide B2B, products, which most of the cases are software solutions, for example, right? Be it CRM system, engineering solutions, building managements in any industry, in engineering, constructions, and in SaaS, across all industries, right? If you're selling a software solution, at the moment, or the current, trend is basically these companies rely on their sales, like human sales individuals, to go talk and meet with the the decision makers and sell them these softwares, right? Where at the same time you can select one of the top thought leaders in specific industry and let them talk about your software, right?
Yes.
We will maintain authenticity, right? Like you can give them this your software for their company free of charge, right? A month, 2 months ahead of the collaboration or the content creation. Let them try it and test it themselves.
True.
Be it like some CRM system in sales, for example, right? Like HubSpot or Salesforce or Pipedrive, right?
Yes.
The usual known approach is sales, like human to human, right?
Yes.
But how to use the B2B is basically you can go to senior vice presidents of sales in big company, right? Or head of sales at specific company in any industry, right? These CRM systems serve different kind of industries. And then you let them have the subscription of your software.
Okay.
Let them use it with their teams, right? And then maybe after 3 to 6 months, ask them to start to give you a review and create content about this on LinkedIn. So it comes from real, authentic experience, right? They tested the platform, they tried it, and let them talk about the benefits that they're having. Not let them talk about like the features of the softwares or like, no, this is going to be boring, right? But they can create content in a way that has a little bit of twist that we are used to on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So for example, they can post photos of themselves celebrating, like the head of sales, for example, celebrating with his sales team right in the office. Like we hit our target, celebrating with everyone, I'm gifting everyone, pizzas or cake or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he writes the remaining of his posts like this way, right? And I would love to thank, like Pipedrive or Salesforce or whatever the software is.
For helping us
exactly,
achieve
for
that.
helping me analyzing the performance. We could really optimize our performance by looking at our numbers, looking at our leads, and all these things that facilitates time for salespeople instead of using, for example, Excel sheets, right?
True.
And so on. So in this way, other decision makers in his network, and this is actually what happens. LinkedIn is the most platform that has people who look like you, right? If you are in engineering, most of your connections will be in engineering. If you are head of sales, you'll find a lot of connections. Of course, your clients, like brand managers and marketing managers, but you'll find a lot of head of sales like you in your industry, right? Because we love to see how each other like-minded people, exactly. And if you just influence 2 or 3 people to buy the software, then this is a real change.
This is really amazing. This is really amazing.
And this is the power of LinkedIn. And there is another thing also. I need to draw your attention to this one.
Sure.
This is something that no one has ever thought about. Like there is another potential for LinkedIn. working with high profile, right? Like when we look at luxury brands, we always go to influencers who mirror or showcase luxury in their life. Sometimes they're not actually rich, right? But you can do the same thing and utilizing LinkedIn for the same purpose. You can go to CEOs of big companies and collaborate with them. I'm not saying that they will all agree. I'm not saying that it will be cheap. It will be expensive, of course. But these CEOs have other CEOs as well.
Use them as a brand ambassador or something.
Exactly. You tell me how many CEOs you're sure that you will reach out to through a luxury influencer profile on Instagram, for example, right?
True.
But if you collaborate with a CEO in a big company, you're sure that there are a lot of entrepreneurs, other CEOs are following him on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So think about it with me this way. He's having an end of year party, right? He's posting about it, and he's talking about like a luxury real estate developer. They are at one of his, villas or whatever, right?
True.
So again, the twist and the organic content and the product itself can be integrated in an organic and authentic way on LinkedIn.
True.
And you can reach to really high-end, right? Like high affinity audience who are actually potential leads for your business if you're selling expensive watches, right? Expensive cars, expensive real estate.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
This is another use for LinkedIn that no one has ever discovered it before.
Yeah, exactly. Coming to authenticity, and when we approach, big brands, I'm talking about B2B brands, corporate sector and stuff like that. Most of the owners are a little bit, they say, no, I'm not on social media. I don't want to be on social media. How important is it for the leader of a brand or a company to be, I'm not saying do Facebook or TikTok dances or thing, but at least, relevant platforms like LinkedIn. How important is it for a business leader to be to represent your brand, talk about your brand, and be your own brand ambassador? Does it help the brand?
It doesn't just help the brand; it helps your shares in the stock market. Right?
Yeah.
People, of course, not just your customers, but if you think about it, the investors as well.
Yeah.
When they see the face of the brand, like the CEO of the brand, communicating, engaging with his community, and by community I mean other investors who might invest in your company, right? Your customers and your employees as well. A great example that I can tell you is, for example, Tariq Shalabi, the CEO of Brands for Less.
Okay.
Right? I love his content. You will see him on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere, right? And he creates content that it's not frivolous. It's actually really fun and nice content.
Yeah.
He's positioning the Brands for Less. Brands for Less is a great actually store. I go there, you have the twist and the feel of fun while you're shopping, right?
Exactly.
It's great prices, right? So great prices drives you to have like a really nice sense of feeling. You're happy that you found a really nice brand that you're looking for, but at a cheaper price, right? So I love that he's already representing the brand in a way.
Danube is a good example. Danube Properties.
Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, the CEO. Yeah. I've heard, actually, I attended his keynote in one of the events in Dubai last year, and he was talking as well about the emergence of influencer marketing, and I've seen the content that they are creating. It's just beautiful, man. It's beneficial for everyone. It's for the brand itself and for you as a candidate, as a CEO, that you'll be more trusted, you'll be connected to people, because at the end of the day, all the ecosystem members, from investors or customers, they're still humans, right? And when you connect with them with the screens and they see you, even if you comment on their comment, they love this. And they will be great advocates for your brand, by the way. True. Like me, myself, at the moment, right? Look at me talking about Tawfiq, right? And Brands for Less, right?
Exactly.
It's a great opportunity.
It's a great example as well. You're actually doing what you're talking about, right? Exactly. So essentially, this is how it comes up. This is how the brand gets built, right?
True.
People, you start,
and not just for CEOs, for even employees, for your career growth.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I worked at 6 different companies in the last year, in the last 10 years in Dubai. 5 or the 6 jobs, I got them from LinkedIn.
Wow. Okay.
Like the recruiters or the employers, like recruitment agencies or the employers, they approached me because they saw me on LinkedIn, whether content that I post or comment that I...
So LinkedIn is super powerful for people who are searching for jobs.
Exactly.
And
100%.
Yeah.
Especially here in the UAE.
Yeah. I want to come back to the brands. Like, for example, a company or a brand looking to use influencer marketing or, develop their image using influencer marketing. Now, it's not like previously it's evolved. Influencer marketing has evolved. It's not cheap as well. You need to shell out a lot of money. But then there are different types of influencers. You have the macro, micro, you have the nano influencers. What kind of how does a brand go about selecting this? Now, I'm sure this is a question that you face on a daily basis when you speak to your clients as well. What kind of influencers should I go for? If I have a limited budget, and how effective is the macro influencers as opposed to micro influencers or nano influencers? Because right now, like you mentioned, there's a trust issue, because everybody was just bling on social media, but their real lives it's not as what they portray it to be publicly. So there is, from the research and from what I've read, it's mostly the micro and the nano influences that have a great influence on their circle of people. Because at the end of the day, influencer is someone who influences the decision-making process of, this thing. So, and of course, it depends on the industry, it depends on the budget, it depends on a lot of other things. But in your view, working in this space, which is the most effective, and how do brands go about navigating this?
You've mentioned all the elements.
Yeah.
Well, budget is definitely one of them, but
Yeah.
let's start from the beginning. It will definitely be the objective of the business or of the brand, right? If it's new brand and it's launching, right?
Yes.
The objective will really define, and your budget as well, will really define what you shall do, right? And anybody would lie to you if they said, okay, I'll tell you the best approach for influencer marketing. This industry specifically, it's very different than any other industry. It's different than the media industry. And by media, I mean online and offline, and online display ads, right? You might have like some theories here and there that they are just static, like you cannot change them. And the most successful approach is known, right? Or for e-commerce, for example, right? But when it comes to influencer marketing, no one knows the secret sauce, right? And anybody would lie if they say so.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But the best thing, or the best approach that I would tell you is the try and test. But start. You need to start. But you will ask me, okay, start with what, right? The partner or the person who has been working on influencer marketing would tell you this. Whether in-house team, someone with the background in influencer marketing across your market that you're targeting, or a partner agency that you can trust, right? And they can guide you on the right way.
Yes.
Right? But there's no
hard and
one
fast rule.
approach fits all,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
I cannot tell you, okay, if it's a new business, you need to go with mega influencers to achieve high reach in limited time. If they are small brands, if they're existing business, they can just work with micro influencers so they can engage
That's
with
why they
different
need
communities.
someone like you to
right?
advise them.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's no one size fits all.
Yeah, exactly.
You really need to start, test, like try and test, and then optimize as you go.
Yes.
There are great examples out there about like brands who were bold in their decisions and they tried something no one would ever imagine that it would succeed, and it actually worked. I'll give you an example. One of the gem clothes brands, right, based out of Australia. I think everybody knows them.
Yes.
When they started, they were just a startup, right? They hired personal trainers, like gym trainers, who has like 1,000-2,000 followers on Instagram.
All right.
These gym trainers already create content of like workouts, their clients while they're training them, all these things, right? They hired 100 micro and nano, as we say, we'll call them influencers,
Yes.
right? Like just personal trainers at gym, right? Maybe 90% of them, they've never done any brand collaborations before. They've never been exposed to these opportunities before, right? They hired 100 of them as employees, and they just asked them, we will supply you with all the gym gear, like your outfits in the gym. We just want you to create X amount of content per month.
All right.
This was the strategy. That's it. As easy as that.
All right.
Not millions of dollars as budgets.
Okay.
They're $1 billion brand now.
Right.
Same goes for a lipstick brand in the
Yeah.
US, I think called Glossier.
Yes.
They did the same thing. They focused only on UGC, the user-generated content, right? And they just sent a lot of lipstick, right, to
Yes.
their customers,
Yes. Yes.
right? And they asked them for reviews.
Yes.
don't ever underestimate the power of like the people like us. I'm not gonna call them influencers, who have like 500 followers on their Instagram or 1,000 followers on Instagram. They just created stories about the brand, like as many hundreds of them, $0 to spend, just the products, right? And they collaborated with a few micro influencers as well to create content about it. $1 billion brand. I'm talking to you from the start. That was the only strategy.
Wow. Okay.
We've seen a lot of brands. They never even used any other media.
Tesla.
Right? They just used influencers.
I mean, Tesla is a good example. They don't have advertising. They don't have a lot of, so.
Right. They relied on people talking about the brand,
exactly.
right? Because the innovation of the product itself is massive. So there is no one size fits all, but the test, like the try and test, and relying on a partner. Whether this partner, you will hire someone in your team with the background of influencer marketing, or hire an agency that has expertise, especially in your category of industry. And then they will let you know as well what's the best approach to do.
Great. One thing that another thing that I remember from our previous discussion is like the innovations that's happening in influencer marketing industry. You talked about CGI influencers and so on. Can you explain what's happening out there right now? What are the trends? What's picking up? And these are we're not talking about macro or nano. These are major influencers, CGI influencers,
True.
right? Yeah.
There are a lot of trends actually in the industry that's happening right now. Most of them were already there last year. Not to repeat ourselves and saying like, oh, we're gonna say something new. They're already there, but they are growing and started to shift in different ways year over year based on the needs and based on many incidents that happen around us. To name a few of them, not all of them.
Yes.
CGI influencers, for example, right? The rise of CGI influencers, which is the computer-generated image influencers who are actually unreal. Like they're not real human beings.
Exactly.
But they have like a designer in the background, right?
Yeah.
No one knows their identity or nationality or their language is speaking, but they create these personas or personality on social media. And then they start to put them in real scenarios, right? Like they take a photo, for example, of at the gym, for example, right? On the machine, right? Working out. And then when they go home, they put the character in this photo as if the character was actually working out in the gym. And when you look at the picture, it's very close to reality, right? Like you look at the influencer, it's very close to reality. And then they start to engage with their audience, like writing caption, oh, I feel so tired waking up today, so I had my coffee and I went to the gym. So it's actually as if a real person sharing their moments with their audience. And a result of that, you would find like thousands of CGI influencers now globally. Maybe the trend is not commonly, known here in the Middle East, and I believe it will happen at a certain point. Because I've heard some rumors that there's upcoming persona in Saudi Arabia. But there is a huge opportunity for creators and brands to collaborate with such influencers. If we are talking about the Middle East, I know that there aren't many there. I have close friends myself, but they're based in Dubai, but they are micro influencers. And there aren't many of them in the Middle East for brands to collaborate with them. But this is maybe an opportunity for content creators, designers and developers, right? To start to develop such, like characters and have huge revenue opportunity, like for them, and income opportunity for them to develop. There are a lot of CGI influencers, let's say in the US, in LA, Lil Michaela, I think.
Yes.
She's very well engaged, she's very well connected and loved by her audience. She has more than 1 million followers on her Instagram, right? Yeah. And she gets dozens of brand collaborations, right, on her profile.
Wow.
And the opportunity also for brands to work with CGI influencers, that they are, I think, less pricey than the normal humans, right? And ease of logistics as well. For example, if we're talking about tourism boards in other countries, so if we're talking about like Saudi tourism or Dubai tourism, they are targeting the US market, for example, right? They can use these influencers without bearing the costs and the expenses of traveling an actual influencer from Germany or from France, to the Dubai or to Saudi destinations and create content there. They can just create the content across different destinations and send it to the designer back in the US as if the influencer, the
Yeah.
CGI influencer,
So a lot of
flew there.
operational logistic,
Exactly.
headaches out of the way. So it makes
Exactly.
them.
So I believe there is a huge opportunity for CGI influencers to emerge in our markets.
Yeah, that's exactly my next question. Like, what is the scope of influencer marketing in the Middle East, specifically UAE and Saudi? Because these are the two markets that's really seeing significant growth, and especially Saudi is also coming up in a big way. UAE is already there; they're always the first. What are the trends? How is the market looking like? What is the scope?
So you have many trends actually are upcoming, right? The common ones, everyone knows them, so I'm not gonna talk about them. I want to tell them more about like the things that the brands actually should start to look at. One of them is basically long-term partnerships, right? Like running long-term partnerships with content creators, as we spoke in the beginning, right? Who fit the brand image and the brand equity and the brand persona, right? Long-term partnerships have a lot of benefits for everyone in the ecosystem. For brands, you create the really like the best content about the brand, and you will get the best benefits out of them. And I call it this way. It's not like right, but I'll call it this way. You own their audience, because they're not just like one-off collaboration with the influencers where they just post one content and then your brand disappears from their followers. They keep like creating content and publishing content about your brand, right? It's over there in front of their audience eyes every day in the morning when they wake up. Let's say an espresso machine, like for coffee, right? They create content every day, at least even in their stories, right? They're creating their morning coffee through the espresso machine, right? So this is for the brands side. For creators, it's great as well, because it saves them a lot of hassle of like creating really nice steady long-term income. Do you know who they are working with? Do you know how much they will get? So they have more time and relaxing like spirit to come up with more creative ideas and live in a stress-free like environment of who I'm gonna work with, and it helps them as well start to create or maintain this consistency in their image as an influencer themselves, especially in the beginning. You find a lot of micro influencers who wants, for example, to specialize in fashion, right? You have a lot of passion in fashion, but here it comes a beauty brand in makeup, or here it comes a gym brand, and they decide to work with them in the long term. Forcingly, like they are forced to shift their statics and content direction from fashion that they are passionate about it towards this, because at the end of the day, it's their income, right? Their pay job, right? So this is another thing, like long-term partnerships. Another thing is exclusive content. A lot of platforms now are starting to allow creators to have a paywall, right? So we'll find a lot of creators coming up residing behind paywall in order, like especially for their close community. If you want to know more about the influencers, about their daily lives, you have to subscribe on a monthly basis, right? Another trend is long-form video, right? We've seen the TikTok already, the excellent short-form video platform allowing the 10 minutes now video, right? And there are some rumors that they will extend it even to 15 minutes video. Long-form video as well facilitates a lot of benefits for a lot of brands who have or who need this type of content that has how to, like videos that needs more explanation of using the product, all this kind of thing. Things like product that needs longer time in a video to explain the benefits of it and the features and the usages and all these things. Another thing is the something called stock content. This is a new trend I haven't seen a lot of our creators here in the Middle East started to do, which is basically influencers tend to create a lot of content. As when you go to like these stock content websites, they do the same thing. They create a lot of content in a short time and then keep it with them in their gallery to use it later on with any brand collaboration, right? Like they create random organic content of themselves walking in the streets, drinking coffee, riding a bicycle, like sitting with their friends laughing. You know what I mean? And they create this huge library of content that they can repurpose later on. And that helps them as well to save more time so they can actually start to engage with their audience more and create more relationships with their audience, right? Another trend is pay transparency as well. This is one of the challenges that I face myself. The increase in pay and rates for influencers, especially here in the Middle East. I worked with the global influencer agencies before, and I've seen the creators and the creator rates in Australia, in Europe, and so on. When you go to Middle East, surprisingly, we are the highest paid market ever when it comes to influencers. And I think the reason behind this, that there are a lot of creators in some GCC markets. We don't find it a lot here in the UAE. UAE has most of the best rates are like common or make sense kind of rates for influencers. But when you go to other GCC markets, you find a huge peak in prices for influencers. And the reason behind that every influencer just price their own content, or working with them in their own way, right? However, when you go to the same influencers and if you are a close friend to them, they'll give you like 50% discount on their content, right? So there isn't this stability over there with rates, and everyone just asking about prices. But when you go and talk to brands, and this is one of the most and the strongest challenges that agencies face with brands, brands they do want to work with influencers. They want to collaborate with content creators, but this budget limitations that the influencers are putting in front of themselves, I've seen myself mega influencers losing $20,000 deals. Very easy. It would need 1 day shooting from them. To be more precise, 2 hours shooting from them. $20,000 because they don't want to decrease the rates from $27,000 or $30,000. They lost the deal. Like, come on, right? You're losing on opportunity, right? Like, I myself, I'm not talking about everybody else, but I myself, I would prefer working with 3 brands. Each one of them will pay me $10,000, and instead of working with one brand paying me $20,000, because 3 of them together is $30,000. You'll get more money, right? This is number 1. Number 2, I'll be fair. Let's set benchmarks for collaborations, right? Let's assign rate cards, right? Like, or you as a creator, assign your rate card against real KPIs, right? Like the potential sales that you may drive for brands. You will tell me, no, I don't know. You can know based on previous work with similar brands in the same industry, right? Base your rate on your engagements that you get, right? Like I have 100,000 followers, for example, on Instagram, right? Another influencer has 1 million followers on Instagram. Both of them, they get 10,000 engagements in average on their posts. You tell me. Both of them, 100,000 followers, 1 million followers. Both of them, 10,000 engagements. I would work with the 100,000 follower guy because he will get me the same engagements, right? And you would look at both rates. You'll find the 100,000 followers guys charges you, I don't know, let's say $3,000, $2,000, or maybe less. The 1 million follower guy will charge you $10,000, right, for a rate. So these are the differences in gaps. We should start to talk reasoning, because this is the right that brands have on us. We need to be reasonable in our rates, right? And this will get benefits for the creators as well. We'll have a healthy environment and industry, right, that makes sense for everyone, right? And we will take other consideration into, I'm not saying that these are the only criteria, right? We can also consider other very important criteria like the social class. There are some luxury representing influencers who really have high affinity audience in their followers. Like you would work with someone with only 50,000 followers and I would pay him $10,000 for their post. But because I know, based on experience and previous experience, within these 50,000 followers, very high-end, high affluent audience who can buy real state products, who can buy expensive watches, who can buy expensive cars. So really the leads that they will get you will sell you big ticket products. So it makes sense that I pay him $10,000. But we need to have this, like criteria in place. So this is the pay, transparency that I'm seeing it developed over time and across markets as well. Another 2 trends I wanted to talk to you about. The first one is a lot of influencers now, we're seeing them starting to become entrepreneurs and business owners. I have friends myself who are micro influencers, girls, and I'm seeing them now starting their own startup, contact lenses, new personal care and skincare products, and so on. It's very, very, it makes you happy, right? Like it's very competitive for the big tycoons, of course, because there are a lot of players are entering the market. But it's very great to see content creators are making use out of their engaged communities and making profit and second income for themselves. And the last trend is I'll start actually to see more employers investing in their employees. And by employees, I mean influencers. A lot of employers we're seeing at the moment, a lot of brands, especially in retail, in beauty, they started to hire influencers and content creators as full-time employees. across different markets, across different categories, right? Not necessarily like mega influencers, but also micro and mid-tier influencers with hundreds only of thousands of followers. I think the big example that we can give here, Nerf, for example, the toy brands, if you know Nerf, right? They had this great, when they decided to enter TikTok, they had this great competition to hire a chief TikTok officer, right? And they allowed it for everyone up plus 18. So we're talking about youngsters here, like, right? Like older teenagers, right? To create content using Nerf products for the chance to be to be hired as chief TikTok officer with a $10,000 monthly salary. So these are the opportunities that brands have and creators as well at the same time. And I'm sure that you've heard as well about like the young kid who does toys reviews on YouTube, gets millions, right? Right? And I think one of the brands wanted to actually collaborated with him to produce a line of toys with his brand, right? Not like Lego, for example, right? So these are all opportunities I'm seeing at the moment. A lot of retail brands as well started to hire creators who work in the store for them to show products on TikTok and talk about them, etc. So there are a lot of trends out there. I know that we can take much time talking about them.
I follow a lot of creators in the tech space, like MKPHD, and he talks a lot about tech. And what I've seen is the trend is like they are launching their own products, like you said, phone cases and other stuff related to tech. Which will, they're actually extending their reach by developing products or designing products. They're partnering with other brands to develop products under their brand and stuff like that. So, like you said, this is something amazing. As a brand, like if I engage an influencer or if I promote my services or product through an influencer, how is it always successful? How do you measure success in such a scenario? Is it really like how do you measure the success of a campaign or using an influencer? Yeah.
So the success will be measured based on the objective at the beginning of the campaign. One point here that I forgot to mention is it's not always about the creator. That's more about like the content itself. And unfortunately, we have a lot of really good creators with huge and strong potential in the Middle East, right? But the content that they create is not on par of their potential. They could do something else which is way bigger and better, right? This is where agencies like ourselves at Dmenta, for example, right? We have our own in-house creative team that helps creators come up with creative concepts to use their talent, their faces, and their equity, and their engaged and loyal audience. Exactly, yeah, and brands. So we work hand in hand. We understand the brand challenge, and then we come up with creative concepts, and then we apply these creative concepts with the right mix of talent that we see them fit the brand and the creative concept itself. And it's a huge. There are a lot of successful examples that I can tell you about. Like me myself, I've seen content creator in Australia. He was just on his skateboard, right? Like just enjoying his time, drinking directly from the bottle of ocean spray juice, right? And he was just drinking. This is the video content. He's like shooting himself selfie. He's enjoying his, skateboard, and he's just drinking directly from the bottle. This is the content. Simple and beautiful as this. Millions of views. It went viral on TikTok. As simple as that. Creativity is not engaged with high budget. You don't have to create creative campaign. You don't have to spend millions of dollars, right? But it's as simple as that. And using the right talent and the right idea that fits. So going back to measurement, we usually the partners or agencies, they sit with brands, they understand their challenges and they come up with solutions for them. If the brand challenge is increasing awareness, then this is what we need to measure after the influencer campaign ends. If it's performance or conversions, sales, this is what we need to measure after the campaign ends. Exactly, right? And there are a million, like ways and methodologies of measuring the influencer content performance after the campaign ends, whether the vanity metrics, as I call them, likes, comments, shares, saves, and all these things. But there are other KPIs as well, like cost per engagement behind the campaign, the cost per view behind the campaign. And then we can measure sales as well through links, right? And through coupons and codes that are given to the influencers, which everybody is doing at the moment.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we can talk about, stay on this topic and talk about. There's something else I want to get in touch, cover, like essentially looking at your sales background. Now, you're not just a salesperson, but you also managed and set up teams effectively to that achieve targets and so on. So this is something, most companies have problems with recruiting the right sales person or talent internally, because when you look at their CV, they may, it's all very exciting, very you get excited about looking at the CV, but when you actually get them on board,
Tell me about it.
they're not able to achieve the targets or numbers or whatever the KPIs are. So how do you go about recruiting and selecting? The reason I'm asking you is because you've set up teams, effective teams who are able to achieve targets. How do you go about recruiting and finding talent who are in the sales? Like, if I'm in the creative industry, do I always have to look for talent salespeople with the same kind of experience, or can I look outside my industry for the right, what works and what doesn't work?
This is very similar question to the one size fits all.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you from my own experience, right? It might be right, it might be
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
But for me, the first initial stage that you need to take care of is basically you need to create the candidate profile that you're looking for. You need to know who you're looking for in order not to be unfair with candidates, waste their time, get them on board, hire them, lose hiring expenses, of course, and make them lose other opportunities or potential opportunities and waste their time. They might not fit you. So creating candidate profile is the first step. You need to know who you want, what's their background, what's their capabilities and potential, and also the culture fit. Right, I've seen a lot of rising stars, right, but they entered companies, but they don't culturally fit with the company culture, right? So all these criteria you need to set in place, and then you start to search for this person, whether through recruitment agencies, and we have really great recruitment agencies here in Dubai, for example, right? Or directly through your HR teams, right? Once you have all the CVs, right, which astonishes you,
So
right?
everybody's a salesperson.
Exactly, right.
Even if you just
Everybody
pass by the department.
Yeah. Everybody use the CV maker, and AI that have these beautiful CVs. The CVs for us are just like a first gateway to know more about the person, and like what did they achieve, and you would tell from the CV whether this person is really worked at this position or not, or he's just faking it. You would know whether they were really performing or not. We, as like the head of sales, usually in departments, they would look at the CV and analyze it and would tell like, this person, I really want to meet them, it's interesting CV, or this person, they have amazing CV, but we just don't take them for many different reasons, right? Like for the duration that he has been working across other previous companies before, for his background, the product that he was selling, the company that he used to work at before. It might be company that he was achieving his targets and everything, but it was very, very easy product to sell, right? Like, for example, if I hire you tomorrow, if I hire anyone, right, from any background, I'll hire an accountant, an engineer, to sell media space at, without mentioning, a big media channel, right, that has all the big TV titles on it. Everyone is watching already this media channel. Advertisers are just waiting at your door to give you money. So if he told me, I achieved all my targets, of course, advertisers will come to you automatically. Where you used to work, it's an easy sell, right? So I appreciate more the people who achieve their targets and coming from startup background. These are the guys who like got it right from the ground up, right? They built teams, they built a successful career for themselves, and I would really love to meet them. In the interview, you get to know the person, right? And then you hire them. Another thing that I would like to mention after you get them hired, that you have to wait, right? I've seen some sales managers not achieving the targets in the first 3, 4, 5 months. And a lot of companies, or the companies that they used to work at, they were already intending to fire them. On the 6th month or the 7th month, they achieved remarkable results. Like really compensating all the previous months that they haven't worked. So sometimes in the industry, I'll speak about ours in influencer marketing. It's pretty much new industry. You will not find, we're very, very few limited sales calibers or sales people who sell influencer marketing as a service, right? You would find a lot of media sales, digital media sales people, but people who are selling content, selling influencer marketing are very few. So you need to really be patient, right? Answering your question about the point of hiring from the same background or not, it doesn't really matter to me as much as the most important element that I hire for, the passion. How much this person is passionate. Because I strongly believe the sales career, as a sales career, right? It's either you were born as a salesperson or you were not, right? It's not skill that you can teach or you can push to someone. If some person is an introvert, then great, good for them, right? But they don't fit for the sales role. They can fit for other career progress, and they may excel and achieve great results, right? Like accountants, whatever their career is, right? But when it comes to sales, you need to be an extrovert person. You need to be like a people person who love to go out, meet people, not shy away from presentations, from standing on a stage, giving a speech. You know, you would be able to do all these things if you are the right fit for the role. This is the first one. Second point, you might be that person who is very outgoing, loving people, but you don't have any sales-driven, passion. You're just sitting in the office enjoying your time and you're wasting
One
time.
thing I've noticed is like some people are really good in people skills, but they cannot close the deal. Like, you know.
Exactly. You know what? This brings me to another. You're opening actually windows in my head.
Yeah.
I've seen this myself.
Yeah.
There are really, really great sales managers, but the ultimate sales manager should have different skills. I met with people who are great door openers. They would go there, get you as many leads as you want. They're lacking the remaining skills that I will tell you about them. So after you get the door open, you need the sales guy who's good in presentation skills. The door openers are not that good in presentation skills. I find really nice salespeople who do right presentation, who have the presentation skills, but they're not good door openers at all. They get me 2-3 leads a month, right? And then when it comes to closing, that's how you reminded me of this. There are really good salespeople who actually open doors, present well, but they cannot close the deal. And closing deals require specific skills, right? So in your sales team, right, you can start to have this mix. Don't look for the ultimate person, because it's very difficult to find the person that has all this set of skills in one. But you as a leader in sales, you should start to utilize your team in a way that achieves the best results for them. How you're gonna grow? You're gonna grow your team members, right? And how you're gonna grow the company and the business at the same time.
Tariq, I have a lot of questions. I can go on and on and on, and it's really interesting to actually hear you speak on a lot of various topics, especially on influence marketing and sales. But I just want to ask you one last question before I let you go. Is like a lot of our audience probably are youngsters, Gen X and students. We have students, a lot of student listeners. For someone who wants to make a career out of influencer marketing, what is the approach that they need to take? Do you have any advice for them? What
Create content.
Create content. All right. Okay.
Be an influencer. Everybody now wants to be an influencer, right? I have a lot of my friends, they have their kids in like teenage and actually younger as well. They're always having their phones and they're creating TikToks and stuff like this. This is the new generation at the moment, right? Like when you ask them, they tell you, I want to become an influencer. Like very few of them, they say, I want to become a pilot or I want to become an engineer anymore, right? It's a huge shift in generational thinking process or dreams or passions, right? But no, seriously, in this front, for all the youngsters, right, like on high school and college students as well who want to pursue this career, The industry is growing. I'll definitely advise everyone to, I'll be biased to my own industry. So I'll definitely advise them to enter the industry. It's growing. The potential and the growth and the opportunities are massive. You can be content creator, influencer yourself, and you can be an influencer marketing manager or executive who handles the talent relationship and briefs them about campaigns, what to do, which content that they should create, what is the idea, all these things. So they are the medium between the agency and the brand and the influencers. They talk to them all the time on a daily basis. They are their friends, right? They hang out with them. They create huge relationships with influencers, being it big, mega, or micro influencers. And then you have the account management career opportunity as well for them, who's very organized person and can work under pressure and multitask person. If they are this person, then go for account management. This is the client servicing career, where you will take the deal from the sales people and then give it to the influencer team to get the right choice or the right mix of influencers for the campaign. So this is the person who talks and deals and communicates with the brand on a daily basis to show them how the campaign is performing, the campaign day-to-day phases and stages where the campaign is standing on. And then you have the third career, which is I'm on, and I'll be biased to it as well, and I'll talk a lot about it. The sales career or the partnerships career in influencer marketing. Our role is as easy as that. We are the people who go out there, get brands and clients who are looking for influencers.
All right.
So we're the ones who gets the deals, who gets the money.
All right.
Right? For the company and for the brands, right?
Yes.
This career also requires someone who's good in presentation, who loves people, who's outgoing, who wants to make more money.
Yeah.
Because this is the most rewarding career specialty across all of them. And this is the highest salaries as well across all of them. But at the same time, meets the highest salary, the highest pressure and stress, right? Because you will have the target, revenue target pressure that you will need to achieve in order to maintain the business that you and the company that you work at and your colleagues' salaries as well, right? At the end of the day. So these are like the three main.
So there are a lot of career choices.
For students and who want to seek these opportunities.
Amazing. Thank you, Tariq. That was really a very interesting, very exciting conversation. I wish we could go on and on.
Same here.
So I just want to thank you for spending your time with us today, and hopefully, let's see, we can get you on board again and cover more topics.
I'm ready anytime. Thank you for having me,
Ajay. Thank you. So that's it, guys. That's the end of the show for today. We are available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Please subscribe, and see you on the next episode. Thank you.